Welcome to the Gigging Success Podcast. And now, here's your host, Brad Lazarus.
Hello and welcome to the Gigging Success Podcast, where you'll discover the tactics and strategies of some of the world's most successful cover bands that'll help you fast track your way to more of those better paid gigs you deserve. So on this show, I'm talking to Billy and Andy from a band called Soul Avenue. Now, these guys have been around for about 10 years or so. So they're pretty experienced in this cover bands game, and they've been through quite a lot in that time, which we discussed. But one of the interesting things is in 2012, they racked up about 100 gigs. So 100 bookings in 2012, which by any band standards is pretty damn good. Then in 2013, it dropped to half that. Now, we try to understand why that happened and what their plans are to get that number back up again. Now, they use AdWords and they bring in some leads from different areas, so we'll talk about that. So it's a really interesting case study and loads of stuff to learn in there as well. So before we get into the interview, again, if you could please get onto iTunes, leave a positive review. All you need to do is go to the iTunes, search for Gigging Success in the iTunes store, and then you can go and find the podcast, and you can leave a review there. If you haven't done so already, you can pick up my free guide, Cover Band Essentials, 5 free and easy killer tactics and strategies to get more bookings and dominate your competition in the current economy. Go and grab that at giggingsuccess.com/CBE. That's giggingsuccess.com/CBE. It's got some, as I say, some killer tactics and strategies in there which you can use immediately to increase your bookings. So without further ado, let's get straight into the interview. Hi, I'm here with Billy and Andy from Soul Avenue. How are you guys?
Good, good.
Good stuff, good stuff. Well, we tried to record this the other day, but we were let down by internet connection, so we're going to give it another go now. So you guys have basically been running a band called Soul Avenue for, about the last 10 years, is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
And how did you're both full-time musicians teaching as well as playing in the band, is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, about just over 10 years ago, I did a degree in music and sort of fell into teaching, but then obviously being a musician, what you want to do is get out and play. So we're all sort of depping with various bands and things like that. And I sort of formed the band Soul Avenue, and then eventually met up with Billy, and it became a partnership, and we ran the band together. So that's how it all started, really.
Okay. So I mean, what was interesting to me when I was talking to Billy was the fact that you guys have had a lot of success over the years, and I'm kind of specifically thinking like in the last kind of 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Your kind of gig numbers went up. Did they go up significantly about 2-3 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, 2012 was probably one of our best years to date. I mean, I think when we spoke last, it was sort of around about 100 gigs in 2012, which sort of came from a lot of different sources. And we found sort of 2013 a lot harder, and there's probably half the amount of gigs. So it's kind of, we've been working a lot at the promotion side of things, sort of getting the marketing better and getting out there more on the web to try and get more work, really.
Right. Okay. So just going back to that kind of 2012, what do you think it was that got you those 100 shows? What were you doing that was bringing that number of gigs in?
Well, there was a couple of things really. We both know a lot of musicians, and a guy I know sort of passed on a lot of his inquiries where he was already booked. So we got quite a few things from that. We got a few things from agencies, and another thing we were doing was running the AdWords campaign, which was a big thing in terms of getting the gigs.
So that was happening in 2012 as well, was it?
It was, yeah.
Ah, right. Okay. So, interesting. So yeah. Sorry. Go on.
So
yeah.
we had a lot. It was a really good year, yeah.
Okay, fine.
I mean,
And
the AdWords definitely was probably a big percentage of that.
do you know what kind of percentage?
You know, I've not really looked, but I mean, I'm guessing off the top of my head, I reckon it must have been 60%.
Really, that much?
Of the work was probably coming from AdWords, yeah, and then the other 40%, sort of a mixture of things where we were doing public gigs, referrals from, as I say, other musicians, and then a few things from agencies. Around that, you know, I mean, I couldn't say exactly without looking through, but I reckon probably around 60%.
Okay, so what were you doing that? I mean, did you teach yourself AdWords? Did you just get on there and kind of persevere with it? What was your journey there?
When we first started it, we did it ourselves, and Billy ran the majority of it. But what we sort of realised is that we're musicians, and we're not sort of IT geeks that kind of, you know, it's not our field. So in the end, we basically got someone to take it over for us and run it for us.
Right. Okay. And how far into your kind of working with AdWords did you decide to kind of outsource it?
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, we ran it ourselves for maybe 6 months, 9 months, or maybe 6 months prior, you know, before 2012. And then I think maybe more sort of the end of 2011 to maybe early 2012, we got someone to take over it for us.
Okay, and how did you decide who was going to take? Were you approached by a company, or did you just decide, you know what, I just don't want to deal with this anymore, I'm going to get it outsourced? How did that come about?
We were actually approached. Someone gave us a phone call, and then someone gave Billy a phone call actually, and then he sort of phoned me, and we discussed it, and we thought, you know what, this seems like a really good idea. You know, it's because obviously running a band, you've got a lot of things to manage without that, and you know, you can't do everything, and sometimes you've got to outsource things, I think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, you're right. So how did you? Okay, so a lot of people will be in the same situation as you, where they've been doing well for a while, and then all of a sudden things kind of semi fall off a cliff, and you're sitting there scratching your head, going, "What's going on? Where's everyone gone?"
Yeah.
So that kind of happened to you a little bit last year, in the sense that you just alluded to the fact that you were about 50% down on 2012.
Yeah.
What do you think caused that? Firstly,
well, I mean, I think the big thing was, which I couldn't believe, after sort of speaking to venues and brides, and a lot of people didn't want to get married in 2013. It was the superstitious thing. I think, you know, obviously we're still in a recession, but the big thing was people just didn't want to seem to get married in 2013, which I was quite surprised by. But after speaking to a few venues, they were also saying, you know, their numbers were down on the amount of weddings they were doing, and so I think that sort of was a big part of it, along with maybe the recession. I mean, we were fortunate enough at the beginning of the year. We did a couple of cruises, which kind of helped us out a little bit, really. Which is not something we normally do, but obviously when the work is tight, you kind of you'll take anything you're offered, really. And I mean, that's the only. I don't know. What do you think, Bill? I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. Really, that was the main feedback we got, wasn't it? People just didn't want.
Yeah, I mean,
It didn't coincide with you kind of outsourcing your AdWords in any way, or somebody else. I.e., what I'm kind of getting at is the idea that somebody might have been managing your campaign, and then things maybe weren't quite within your control, and you didn't realise that until a little bit late, maybe.
Well, no, because it was before. It was, well, no, I don't think it was. You know, I mean, obviously people do. Yeah, you could look at it. Yeah, maybe because we'd started the AdWords campaign in 2012, and obviously a lot of the bookings you get are a year in advance. But I don't think it was. I think, you know, the level of inquiries weren't coming through, Whereas when we look at it now, obviously we've still got the same people running the AdWords campaign, and our inquiries have gone through the roof for 2014 and for 2015. So I don't think it was anything to do with that. And if anything, because Billy talks a lot to the company and kind of they discuss a lot more, you're more aware of what's happening with it, I think.
Right. And how do you know? Do they report to you? How do you manage them?
Well, we do get a sort of report, and then Billy calls them every month. So
yeah, I speak to the kind of consultant that's assigned to our account, and she goes through some of the changes that they've been making to our account, and in terms of search keywords and
negative keywords.
Yeah, negative keywords which are words to be avoided with your search words.
And do you know what you're spending on a monthly basis on AdWords? On the actual, not for the consultancy fees, but actually what you're spending on clicks?
Works out about £15 a day, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a pretty healthy spend then, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and do you know what kind of return on that amount of money you're going to get? Do you have a clear idea now about the number of gigs that you're going to bring in and at what kind of fees on a monthly basis now, off the back of what you spend on AdWords?
Um,
I need to check.
You'd need to kind of check the numbers. No, cool. No, that's fine. No, I'm just interested to kind of know the level of...
I mean, one of the things I can say is it kind of definitely pays for itself. Do you know?
Yeah.
You know, it's to a certain thing. I suppose we'd be lost without it, really, and without knowing what the exact percentages of clicks per how many confirmed bookings we're getting per click. We'd have to look into, but it certainly pays for itself.
Okay, so you're big fans of it. Evidently, it's kind of been a major part of your growth in terms of gig numbers, by the looks of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the thing is that whatever people are looking for now, the first thing they do is go on their laptop, isn't it? They're going to go on the web and look for whatever it is they're interested in. If you're coming up on the first page, it's obviously going to boost. It's going to boost your inquiries, I think, really.
Yeah.
We use it. We use, obviously when we get the inquiries, because we use that within also we use our public gigs as well. So we invite the clients down to that. So they're not just kind of booking blind, if you like. They kind of they've heard about us, but then they actually get the opportunity to come and see us at a public gig, and generally that'll seal the deal for us. They'll kind of come and have a listen, like what they hear, and then they'll book. So it's kind of we use the two really, to kind of to try and promote it really and get the booking sort of thing.
Okay, so you're going out, because I know you play like a venue in Kent, is it? Yeah, in Kent, which is in southern UK for anybody that's not in the UK, and you're presumably you're getting less than you would otherwise ideally want to get.
Yeah.
But evidently what you're smart about is actually kind of almost using that as a bit of a loss leader. It's almost like a paid showcase for you, really, isn't it?
That's exactly what it is. I mean, it's we don't sort of come away with a big wad of cash in our hands, but what we do come away with is we make sure that when we do those gigs is we invite a lot of clients down. So you can guarantee each time we play there, which is once every sort of few months, we make sure we try and invite at least 20 clients down to try and get the bookings in, and it always works for us. So
okay, so you've got some numbers there then. So you've got about 20. You try and ask about 20. Is that the number of potential pieces of potential bookings? And you ask them all to come down, and then how many might end up coming down?
To be honest, you probably get about 75% of them come down, and if they weren't able to make it, they'll generally ask when the next one is. So it definitely works. Yeah. So it's,
And it's something to talk about, isn't it?
yeah.
It kind of shows the fact that you're living and breathing and you're doing this.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing is, if you book a band over the internet, you don't really know what you're getting, do you? I mean,
No.
you know, and until you've sort of tried and tested and see what what the reaction is, I think it puts people's minds at ease really if they've seen you. And one of the things which is good for us, at that venue, we always get the people up dancing, so they kind of, in their mind, they're sort of watching you play, but they're looking at the reaction of the punters in there, and they think, actually, yeah, this is what I want for my wedding. I want people dancing, I want people having a good time. It's kind of, and it just works for us really. But as you say, yeah, you could look at it as a bit of a lost leader, but it brings in a lot of work. So.
Absolutely. Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. It's almost like the supermarkets in the UK were selling CDs for almost at a loss.
Yeah.
But it was bringing people in and they were buying their groceries off the back of that. So it kind of works. I mean, I found with my bands what happens is you'll invite people down to a similar type of public show.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't be able, in many respects, to find the time in their busy diaries to actually find the time to come to the show on that particular day, particularly if you've only got one option a month, for example, for them to come and see it. So you try and go through 2 months. By the end of it, they go, oh, what the hell, let's just book it anyway.
Yeah.
Because you're kind of in that conversation and you're using that to build a relationship with them, and it's real. They can go on to the website of the venue. They'll see the band name on there. You're then having that conversation with them. They've become a hot prospect for you because they've shown this interest and intent to go and see you. And I think it all works towards actually getting that booking without almost them even going and seeing you play live. So
the other thing is that if a client has your band like recommended to them, and they're trying to get a date to come and see you. They're trying to make one of your public dates, and then they're like, oh, I can't do this date, can't do that date. Because if it's a recommendation from like a friend of theirs that booked us, or from a venue we played in, or blah blah blah, then that's even stronger. That's like an even stronger booking. They might eventually say, oh, we'll book you anyway, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because there's that social proof there in that sense, isn't it? From the referral. So, okay, so you're now in a situation where you kind of found your gig numbers down in 2013, and you're thinking, right, we've got to up this. So, what are the kind of 2 or 3 kind of key things that you're doing now? Obviously, you're still pushing ahead and forging ahead on the AdWords. Have you decided, just on that AdWords before we move on? Have you decided to spend more money on that?
Well, no, we're keeping it at it as it is at the minute because the level of inquiries we're happy with. It's kind of it's good. I mean, one of the things we did at the beginning of 2013, like I mentioned earlier, we did a cruise, and the interesting thing was after sort of speaking to the agency, I was sort of having just a general chat with them and just kind of seeing what other potential gigs were there. And they were saying that one of the things that people are doing now is they're not wanting to book any bands through the agency unless they've got an actual video. So for us, our next step, which we're getting done, I think it's booked next month, isn't it? Is it April? Yeah, we're getting the video done. Sort of early April, and that's something we kind of really want to push, because I think.
So hang on, sorry to interrupt. So that means that you got those 100 gigs in 2012, without a video.
No video, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So you were doing Google AdWords primarily, as well as obviously the other, referrals and what have you, and you were still bringing in 100 shows a year without a video. Yeah. And that was at the time when everybody else has pretty much got videos.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Sorry. Go on. I think that's amazing, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're just sort of looking now it's to try and get a bit more up to date with things. I think it's like anything. If you want to push something, you've got to spend a little bit of money on it. There's no point doing it. No point doing it cheaply, because that's just going to send out completely the wrong idea about what you're selling. You kind of we're going to get a decent video done, and obviously push that on the website, and then also give that video to some of the agencies we're with, and just basically rebrand it, if you like. Just try and push it even further. That's the idea anyway.
Okay, so can I ask you, what budget have you earmarked for the video, roughly?
Really?
We're looking.
Is Billy the money man?
Well, no. I think we not really, but we sort of discussed it, and then he's dealing with the videography, so I don't know what the final fee that was.
Right.
Well, I think we're looking at sort of £600-700, I think.
Okay. And what are you going to get for that?
Well, we're basically doing a medley of 3 of our demo tunes, and so it'll be a video, a medley of 3 tunes, and then maybe some.
There'll probably be some bits of us talking about the band on it, and
some snippets of us maybe talking a little bit about the band and what we do and what Soul Avenue is all about. And so just not a very long video, just a showcase.
About 3 minutes, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so you'll have about 3 minutes, 3 to 4 tracks.
Yeah, I mean, it
with
doesn't include the venue hire or anything like that. It's
okay, right. So this is literally just for the actual audio visual.
Yeah.
Right, and what's the process that you're going to go through? Are you going to record the tracks and then play to track, or are you going to do it live and then mix it? How are you going to do it?
We're going to play to track. We're actually going to play along to a medley that's already been edited.
Is that a medley from tracks that you've got previously from your current? Okay, right. So you're not re-recording any of that then?
No, we're going to play, sort of play along with the tracks, and then we've got a nice video company that was recommended to us. We've seen some of their sort of sample videos, and they're kind of quite young guys with sort of fresh, modern
good
ideas. I think they could do a really nice production, for us.
Okay, so finding these guys to do the kind of the production for you.
Yeah.
Did you go purely on kind of word of mouth recommendation for that, or did you search around online a little bit? How did you approach that?
We had a look online, and we got a sort of few quotes from different places, but then someone Billy knows, who's a musician, had some really good videos done, and we looked at those and thought, these are really good, and that's how we got in touch with this guy, and then we looked at some of the other music videos that he had done, and we just thought they were way better than anything we'd seen online. So again, we sort of saw what he can produce, really, and that's what made us go with him as opposed to anyone else. We just liked the look of the videos he was producing. So.
Okay, and have you come up with the idea and the concept that you just went through, or has that come from him as well?
Well, it's really from us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the idea was to keep the sort of budget down, but spend more on sort of a company that will do a really nice production and have a really nice finished product, but keeping the sort of technical things, the technical side of it, to making it as simplistic as possible.
Okay. So you're going to spend about £500-600 on the actual kind of audio visual, and then where will you go for? How are you thinking about sourcing the venue? What are you going to do there?
There are a few options, so we haven't completely decided on that yet. But there are a few options. There's a studio we've seen which looks really nice. There's also a local school that actually has some really nice theatres in that we might use as well. So they also have some rooms that are nice as well. So they've got a theatre and some other kind of studio rooms too. So yeah.
And will you bring your lighting into that, or
we will do,
depending what you
also
find?
got, because it's quite a plush private school, so they've got the lighting they've got is incredible, you know. So we'll bring some of our own, but probably use a lot of theirs as well, I think.
And do you know what they're kind of charging? I just want to give everybody a bit of an idea of, you know, what kind of numbers they kind of should be thinking about.
I mean, we're kind of we're still sort of getting the feedback from the video guy, because he was an ex-student at the school. We're getting it sort of at a discounted rate, which helps. So.
Okay, so have you got a connection with this school somehow?
Yeah, well, the guy who's doing the video has, yeah.
Oh, okay. So he's the one that's gone. Okay, I've got this in my network.
Yeah.
I could see if I. Okay, yeah. Right. So now you're bringing that kind of small team together, and you're drawing upon his network.
That's
then.
right. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so then once you're done on that video, you're then going to get it nicely edited down. You've got a 3-minute promo. Yeah. What then for the website? Are you going to change the website entirely? Or are you just going to stick with things as they are at the moment and just tart it up a little bit?
I think we're going to tart it up. Obviously, we're going to use the video as a big part of the website, but we're also we're going to get some new photos put on there and just try to revamp it a little bit. You know, just.
I think we'd quite like to get get a nice style with the colours. So you know. So the sort of general colours from the video and photos that we have, try and stick with the theme, you know, so that so there's a nice style with the website. So
where are you going to get these? Are you going to get these images done professionally at the shoot or separately, or how are you going to go about getting the images?
We might do some photos on the day, maybe when we do the shoot.
And who would do that? Have you earmarked a photographer, or are you going to get
No, there's a photographer that I use that has done a lot of photos for me, and again, he's local, so I'd use him, yeah.
Okay, so you're going to kind of try and get everything done on that same day when you got the band down there.
Yeah, I mean, I always think, you know, I mean, obviously that's the idea, but you know, you can't guarantee that you're going to get the shots that you want. So, you know, we'll see what comes out of it. And if it's not quite, if some of the photos are not quite for us, we'll get some done elsewhere. You know, it's the sort of priority is the video on that day. If we can get some great photos out of it, brilliant. But if not, we'll get some more done.
I suppose when you have the band together, you want to make the most of it as well. You know. But,
yeah, I was going to say, so your band is contracted to you on a show-by-show basis, effectively, is it?
Yeah.
Right, so are you paying them to come down for the video shoot, or are they seeing that as a bit speculative?
They're yeah, that's right. We're not paying them. They're coming down. I mean, they see it as promotion for them as well, because obviously they can use that video for, you know, for their own, you know, anything for themselves, I think. So that's their view on it. It's and I think they're sort of they've been with us for a number of years now, and they kind of they can see why we're doing it. They know it's going to bring more work in, so
they know they'll be getting the work.
Yeah, they know the score. They're in the video. They'll get the first call on it or the gig. So I think we're lucky in that respect that you know they can see the bigger picture.
Yeah. Well, it sounds as though you've kind of deserved their commitment.
Yeah.
In that sense, doesn't it? So, okay. So once you've got, how active are you guys on kind of the whole social media side of things? Have you found that to be of value? Are you active? Are you not?
I mean, not as active as I'd like us to be. I mean, we do have a Twitter and sort of Facebook kind of page, but I mean, from the website, we have from the band website, there's a blog which we try to update as regularly as we can. And that has a feed which goes onto Twitter, I believe.
Right, a blog. Okay, so you've got a blog on your website, and then when you're posting something up on there, it posts a link to your Twitter account. Yeah.
But I think we really wanted to, get the video done, update the website, get photos, have a new, fresh look, fresh appeal. I think then we'll really hit the social media and try and do our best to be as active as we can on that.
Right. Okay. I mean, it's amazing though. Everyone's running around saying, you got to be on social media. You got to be on social media. In the meantime, you guys are getting 50 shows in a bad year.
Yeah.
Without being hugely active on it.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Really.
Yeah, no, well, it's a Brad backhanded compliment. I'm not that great at compliments. You ask my wife about that. But yeah, because I think there's this kind of there's this preoccupation that everybody has this overwhelming kind of pressure to be on social media, and my feeling on it is, be on it, but if you're dealing with a kind of a wedding market or a one-off private party event, they're quite a transient crowd.
Yeah.
So they're kind of coming through your Facebook page or coming through your Twitter account, and you're not really actually building a community.
No.
Because they're all transient. The bride and groom have kind of moved on to babies within 6 months of their wedding. The last thing they're thinking about is the wedding. So I think it works with the kind of if you're trying to build relationships with the industry, event planners and agents and that type of thing. So it's a kind of a strategic approach is how I.
Okay. A venue, coordinators or wedding coordinators maybe. Or...
Yeah, absolutely that. So I think that's where it tends to kind of work. It tends to kind of work best, and I think one does need a bit of a strategic approach to the whole kind of social media thing. So, okay, so that's good. So I mean, so what else have you got? What else have you got planned for the website or any kind of other marketing stuff? I mean, there's a lot to be getting. I know what it's like putting a promo video together can be all consuming, can't it?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think it's just one step at a time for us. So, I mean, so videos next. We're going to try and do photos around the same time, and then then we'll look at what we can do with the website. I think we're not really thinking too much about the website yet. I think we just want to concentrate on the video and the photos first. I think we'd quite like to do some studio shots as well as maybe trying to get some live shots.
Right. Okay.
See, I think as you see, obviously, getting the video done, great, which is what we're doing. But there's always other things that we're sort of doing in the background. We're doing the public gigs. We attend a few wedding fairs where either myself or Billy will be out with a stall, giving people flyers, telling people information about the band, which is another sort of way that we kind of bring a few gigs in.
And for anybody that hasn't done wedding fairs before, what can they expect in terms of on the day and then actually kind of getting some bookings off the back of it? Because there seems to be a lot of kind of misinformation around about wedding fairs.
I mean, one of the things. I mean, my view on it is I don't sort of attend them thinking I'm going to get bookings on the day, and that's not what I'm out to do. What my sort of plan is just to start. Obviously you talk to the bride and groom and you let them know about that public gig that you're doing. So it's kind of. I'm not expecting them to fill out a form and go, we'll have your band that we've never seen and we've never heard. Here's the money, great. I kind of don't expect people to do that. But what you can do is you invite them to that public gig, tell them exactly when it is, tell them when we're playing, what we're going to be playing, why they should come down. Kind of sell it as much as you can, but without trying to be pushy. And I don't. as much as you do get people booking on, on at the actual wedding fair, I think it's better if you can actually just invite them down so they get to hear. It's that's my view on when I attend.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't ask them. In other words, you wouldn't ask them to sleep with you on the first date, kind of thing.
Well, hopefully not.
No.
But basically, that's
well, it's true. It's a relationship building thing, and I think anybody that expects, you're going to get a slap in the face if you ask the question too early, and it's the same. It's the same in any kind of sales type of situation, You're not, but I think what's great about your approach there is the fact that you're kind of leading them to the next step.
Yeah.
So you're going. I think my understanding of. I mean, I don't do wedding fairs with any of my bands, to be honest, and that's for no other reason apart from the fact that we've got a whole bunch of other things kind of going on. Yeah. But I think where people kind of fall down with wedding fairs is they don't have a system to follow up the prospects that they meet at the wedding fair after the wedding fair.
Right.
And if you think about, everybody's carrying, all these brides and grooms are carrying these carrier bags around full of flyers. Yeah. And then they're meant to get home and then remember you as that one supplier that they got to go and call the next day, and it's just not going to happen, So the fact that you've given them something more to think about, other than just grabbing into their carrier bag for that flyer,
Yeah, I mean, I think the important thing as well is you try and get their contact details, because
absolutely, yeah.
Once you've done that, and even if they've forgotten that date that you said you're playing, or where the venue is, or even what the band's called, at least you can push it a bit further and just say, look, just reminding you, this is when Soul Avenue are playing. Be great.
So will you do that? You'll get everybody's contact details where possible that you speak to. You'll then follow them up once or twice after the wedding fair, would you?
What I'll do is I'd email them sort of, the day after the wedding fair. So it's in their mind, let them know when that public date is, and then a couple of days before the date, just email them again, just gentle reminder, and one of the ways I do it is because the venue we play at, they charge to get in. A few days before, I'll email the people, ask them if they're coming, and say, look, if you could let me know if they're coming, I'll put you on the guest list so you don't have to pay to go in. So it's kind of then you can gauge of how many people are going to turn up on that public gig, because it's quite nice to know, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. That's a similar thing to what we do. We actually call it VIP guest list.
Yeah.
It just actually kind of stands out a little bit more than just saying here's a guest list, So it's debatable what VIP means, but as far as we're concerned, they are a very important person because they're a potential customer for ours, you know. So I think that's a kind of another way almost of just giving it a spin, which sounds more valuable than just turning up to watch the band that they might book for their wedding play, So you're following up like once or twice, and is that what you do when you bring in, when you get a quote, when you send off a quote?
Yeah.
You get an inquiry in, a lead, and you send your quote off. Yeah. Have you got a system for following up after that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll send the. You see, I don't. What I tend to do is as soon as you get the inquiry in, you try and deal with that inquiry within 24 hours. So you're not leaving it a few days. You're getting it done straight away. So they're already, hopefully, they can see that you're kind of on the case, because I think some clients they worry about bands, whether they're going to be too laid back, and if you're not getting back to them straight away, they're already sort of thinking, oh, I don't know about these guys. Once I've done that initial thing with the quote and everything, what I tend to do is I'll leave it a couple of weeks, and then if they've left their phone number, I'll give them a call to find out if they want any other information. If they've not left a phone number, I just email them back.
Okay, yeah, so you've pretty much you've got a system there for following up.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
Yeah, right. That's fantastic, because I think that in itself sets you apart from probably 95% of your competition.
Yeah.
Because most people don't do that. They just do not follow up. They almost feel as though, oh well, I send a quote off. If they're not interested, then they won't get back to me.
Yeah, and it's quite a narrow-minded view, though, isn't it?
Tell me about it. Yeah, absolutely. And I think you got it spot on in that sense. I mean, the amount of times that we will follow up every single quote with just checking you received it.
Yeah.
And 40% of people will come back going, no, I didn't.
Right.
And it will either be in the spam folder, or it will just have got lost somewhere along the line, or they haven't had a chance to look at it yet. It's got lost in all those emails that are in their inbox from a million other wedding suppliers.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's about trying to kind of pick out, what you're trying to stand out in amongst all of those is difficult, and it's amazing how many do get lost. So I think that's your kind of strategy's kind of bang on in that sense. So
Yeah.
that's great.
I mean, I think it's like when you said a minute ago about bands don't follow it up. Well, the thing is, if you don't follow it up, or how can you expect to have a busy diary? I mean, they don't necessarily know you at all from Adam. They've seen something on the internet, and if you're not chasing it, that client wants to know that you're organised and will communicate well with them. They want to know that you'll produce the goods on that day. And I think if you can sort of show that you're quite keen and eager and you want to play at their wedding, it's kind of
Yes.
they like that.
It's just being reliable, isn't it?
Yeah. I think it's important to push it. With any business, you've got to push it. Otherwise, it's not going to happen, is it?
Which you're kind of wasting your money.
Yeah.
Well, for you guys, it's you're, I would imagine, acutely aware of the fact that you're spending £15 a day
Yeah.
on clicks, and you want to get as much return on that as you possibly can.
Yeah. I mean, it's you've got to think about it. Otherwise you'll end up, you could end up in negative, couldn't you? Really. So.
Do you have any idea what your conversion rate is? I.e., conversion rate from the number of leads and inquiries coming into how many bookings you get?
I need to check I'm not sure. I need to check the statistics, really.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. That's cool. Oh, listen, guys, that is a real high note for me. It's music to my ears to hear, bands kind of following up in that way, because it's so rare in many respects, and it's such a powerful, it's almost like it costs you nothing by a bit of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yet everybody's kind of out there, kind of potentially pouring money into getting more leads, but then not following them up.
Yeah. What's the point?
Yeah. So it doesn't make any sense. You might as well get half the number of leads, follow them up, and then you're kind of quids in that sense. So
yeah.
Is there anything that you guys kind of? I mean, you're really experienced, you guys. Is there anything that you kind of have learned along the way that you wish you even knew 5 years ago?
Yeah. I mean, I think the bigger, I don't know about Billy, but the biggest thing for me was having reliable staff. If I look back, longer than 5 years ago, really, because the band we've got is really stable. It's been stable for for probably 8 years, if not more. But in the early days, we had some great vocalists, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But the reliability, just being late, blah blah blah, which when you starting something out, you kind of have to learn all these things to sort of, I think, to avoid it. You've got to experience it to realise this ain't working. And it kind of, and I think that's the biggest thing for me, is having reliable staff. Having people that you can depend on. That are not going to let you down. And I think
we had a few very stressful moments in the early days with when we had like a few debt musicians for various reasons, and some debt musicians were really really unreliable, and I think now we know the signs, straight away. I mean, there were people that hadn't learnt the songs, or said that they know the set really well. Or we had like a load of soul tunes in a set, and a singer said something like, "Oh yeah, really know." I love the soul music, I know all the soul stuff, and really hadn't played, sung much soul at all, So we, people let us down sort of close to a wedding day or. And
I think it's not only things like that. It's also the other side of things that's quite important to me is the fact that their appearance is sharp. You know, don't turn up in a scruffy pair of shoes that have not been polished and a shirt that's not been ironed, because it doesn't set a good example, does it? You know, people have got to turn up and looking like they mean business, because, you know, I think if you look a mess, you know, that client could potentially, they could already start thinking, hang on a minute, what's going on here? You know, it's kind of, you've got to sort of look sharp, look tidy, look presentable, look, you know, it's kind of things like that really. And, you know, don't turn up in a pair of trainers because you're at someone's function. You know, you know, you don't leave leads lying around. Make sure everything's tidy, stage looks good. You know, it's, you know, the whole impression is key,
really
you know.
important. You know.
Yeah, and that makes you. I always say that kind of, you know, because a lot of people think, oh well, I'm at the gig.
Yeah.
What do I need to bother for? But it's kind of like, you know, I've got the gig already. It's like, no, that stuff is the stuff that makes you referable.
Yeah.
That's the stuff that people notice on the day, and they talk about that stuff because you're going to do a shit hot performance. You know, you kind of know that.
Yeah.
So everything else matters almost even more.
Yeah.
And that's the bit that your client will go, you made it absolutely effortless for us to have you there, and brilliant, and I'm going to shout from the rooftops about how great you are, you know.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I like is if, say for example, you know, you're the evening entertainment's in a different room to where they're having their meal or whatever, is I like it when people walk in that room where you've already set up and the lighting all looks good, everything looks sharp, and it's like the wow factor, isn't it? People, oh, it didn't look like this earlier. This looks amazing. You know, we're going to have a good time tonight. It's kind of
it's a transformation.
Yeah, and that kind of that does amaze people, and it.
Yeah, it's quite easy. It's not that hard to do, is it?
No, it's
just about being on it.
Yeah.
The little things, the little details.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, guys. On that note, I am going to have to end. It's 45 minutes. It's my strict timing. So, listen. Thank you, Billy, Andy. That's really some brilliant stuff in there, and you know, maybe we'll kind of have you back again in a few months' time to see how you know your experiences of the video and. How things went there, and you know what effect that's having on the number of bookings. So look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Yeah,
Right.
Thanks very much.
All right.
Cheers,
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Talk to you later.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks to Billy and Andy of Soul Avenue. If you wanted to go and check out what they're doing, you can go to soulavenue.co.uk. That's soulavenue.co.uk, and check out their progress from there. Might give them a shout in a few months' time and see whether they want to come back on and tell us how the video shoot went and what results they're getting from that. So that brings us to the close of this episode of the podcast. If you haven't done so already, go and grab your free guide at gigingsuccess.com/CBE. That's gigingsuccess.com/CBE. And again, I'd love to know what your thoughts are about the podcast, so please feel free to email me with any of your thoughts at brad@gigingsuccess.com. That's brad@gigingsuccess.com. And I shall see you next time.